Bonjour YouTube, welcome back with another Abyss guide. It's been a while, I think. Actually, maybe I did an Abyss guide last rotation, I don't remember, but I feel like it's been forever since I've been in the Abyss. I've been locked in Stygian Onslaught for the last 4 weeks, every single day, 10 hours of Stygian almost. I'm already at 200 Stygian cleared, and I'm gonna finish this week as well with a few more Stygian clears before the end of the rotation, so hopefully I can get to like 220, something like that, but yeah. I've been Stygian pilled quite a bit, but we're back in the Spiral Abyss with this new reset. And yeah, in today's video, I'm going to give you all the tips that I found, all the best teams, etc. And we'll go over if this Abyss is easier or harder than the previous one, or hard in general. And yeah, let's get into it. If you enjoyed the video, if it's helpful, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment, and let's get into it. So first, real quick, the Blessing of the Abyssal Moon. This time around, every time you do Lunar crystallized damage to an opponent, it will unleash a shockwave that deals true damage. As usual, it's a little bit more damage. It's kind of nice, especially for early game players that don't have as much damage. It will help you get through floor 9 to 11 pretty well. But for floor 12, it's not like a massive amount of damage increase. It's okay. It's like a little bit of extra damage might help you get those extra HP bars down. Now, when it comes to the enemies for floor 11, it's going to be pretty straightforward as well. First half, you get 60 hydro damage. Second half, 60 geo damage bonus. It's a defend the monolith on the first chamber. You got a billion pyro slimes. If you have Neuvillette, if you have Farina, Yelan, whatever, it's gonna disappear in like 5 seconds, literally. And then on the second half, you get some primordial Baptismal Bishop that spawns by waves of 3. So it's kind of a little bit harder, I guess, but it's not that bad. And they don't deal that much damage to the monolith. So overall, it shouldn't be that big of a problem, especially if you level up your talents, which is basically all you need for floor 11. After that, we got a few Eremites and Fontaine Machine enemies. Same, it's gonna be pretty straightforward. I'll put some showcase maybe on the screen of me clearing it, but it's pretty fast. And second half, those Praetorian Golems. So if you have Zhongli, if you have any Geo character, you will be able to break the shield quite fast. I think it's 2 waves of 2 or 3 waves of 2. So it's not too bad. It's not too much HP. And then, on chamber 3, we got 1 Radiance Glacial Wolf and 1 Phantasm. So 1 enemy, you got a lot of time to clear them. It's going to be pretty fast. It's floor 11. Honestly, floor 11, especially after the release of Stygian now, it feels like it's just no HP. It shouldn't be too complicated. And yeah, I mean, if you're struggling, make sure you level up your talents. Make sure you level up your weapons. Have Oak-Cage build, and then floor 11 should be pretty straightforward. Now, when it comes down to floor 12, first half, we got Lunar charge damage, 75% bonus, and second half, we got Lunar crystallized damage increased by 75%, so this is probably one of the most chilled Abyss we ever had in terms of Leyline Disorder buff. Basically, first half, you literally cannot use anything other, I mean, it doesn't buff any other team other than like Flint's team or Electrocharge teams with Colombina. And second half, it doesn't buff any team other than Dubai or Lunar Crystallized teams with Colombina. So not a lot of options, or not a lot of teams that will benefit from the buffs, but you will see that the amount of HP this Abyss is actually not that bad. There's just 1 or 2 chambers that can be a bit tricky, but overall, it's really not too bad. And I will show you how to do that. And I was able to clear this Stygian with no Lunar character, no Lunar teams at all, and C0, R0 characters on top of it. Some people even have been able to do 4 stars only. I wouldn't say like it's really the standard, like it's really hard. It was a really good player, but I mean, everything's doable. And you don't necessarily need Lunar characters. But if you just have 1 or 2, it's going to make it much easier. Before the first chamber, first half, as I said earlier, we'll get 15 enemies, 15 of these Abyss monsters that will spawn by waves of 3. They get a shield that makes them immune to physical damage. And at the start, they will split away from each other. So it might look a little bit cringe. But basically, to group them, Kazuha cannot group them, Sucrose cannot group them. You want to break the shield of one of the enemy. And then it will break the shield of the other ones, and it will group the enemies as well. So you don't need to group them or anything, or bring a grouper or whatever. You just want to focus one of them to bring them together, and then you don't even need to break the shield on everyone. You just need to break the shield on one of them. They have about 500k HP, and when they start the fight, when they enter the combat, they will generate a shield that has 200% of their max HP. So it's about 1 million shield and 500k HP, but you just have to break the shield on one of the enemy and not all of them, all right? So technically it's just 1 million damage, and then after that everyone else has 500k HP, and then you have to repeat that 5 times basically. So Lunar damage will deal 3 times the damage on those shields, so it's much faster with Lunar characters, but honestly, it's really doable with teams like Skirk, Mawika, and I will go over all the teams in the team section afterwards. But that's basically what you want to do. Focus one guy, break its shield, it will group everyone, and then finish them off, so you can continue DPSing for the next wave. Some teams, you might have to restart your rotation for every wave, so it's going to be a bit tricky to kill it fast. And honestly, even with Flynn's or Nefer, I was still kind of slow. When I mean slow, it's like 1 minute is like pretty good time for most teams on this chamber. With Flynn's Nefer, you can go a bit faster. But yeah, 1 minute is pretty good clear. With a non-Lunar team, it might be more around like 115, 130. And then on the second half, we got the Frost Knight Hera, same as usual. He's going to start the fight with a phase where he's going to have a white gauge that you have to fill with attacks. And depending how much damage you dealt from specific elements, the boss will be infused with that specific element. So if you deal more physical damage, the boss will not infuse any element. If you deal more Geo, more Pyro, more Anemo, it will be infused with the respective element. It will be infused with the corresponding element. And if you deal Lunar damage instead, it will not get any infusion. Also, Lunar damage filled the gauge much faster. So one hit of Lunar, I think, is 9 times the amount of hits that you need from regular damage. So it's much easier. There are characters that can deal a lot of hits pretty fast that are not Lunar. Like, for example, Shengling normal attacks, Zhongli normal attacks, stuff like that can break that shield quite fast. I mean, fill that gauge pretty fast. If you give Scarab Blade to Skirk, if you do Yelan, Xingqiu, or stuff like that, you can fill that gauge pretty fast. So there's a lot of options. And sometimes in some teams you also can infuse the element that you want to infuse. For example, you can use Mawika Melt, infuse with Skirk or a Yaka that deals a lot of cryo hits, or you can infuse with Silali. It's going to be a bit slower, but she can fill the gauge quite fast, and then you can perma-melt with your Mawika. So this is one of the strategy, and most of the strategies that have been used for this boss. Same, you can do it the same with Mwalani. You can infuse with Pyro and then perma-vape. So there's a lot of team options that we'll cover a little bit later as well, but that's basically the strategy. Either infuse the element that you want to infuse, so you can get the reaction that you want with your main DPS, or just deal a lot of physical damage, lots of normal attacks to fill that gauge as fast as possible, and then no infusion, and then you can just play normally. Or finally have Lunar damage. Zibai, Nefer, Flynn's are going to fill that gauge really, really fast. Now on Chamber 2, we got those crabs on the first half, so if you have Hydro, it's going to be much faster because of those Pyro shields, but even then, they don't have that much res overall, even with those shields. It's going to be easier if you have Hydro, but even without Hydro, you can still deal pretty good damage as long as it's not Pyro, because it has very high Pyro resistance. But yeah, I mean, it's the same as the one in Stygian, kind of, except it doesn't spawn the small crabs, so you just want to target this boss as much as possible. And yeah, Hydro is going to be fast. If you're able to clear in 30-45 seconds, it would be the best. Skirk teams, Neuvillette, Flynn's, any teams with Hydro are going to destroy this boss really fast, and it doesn't have that much HP. I think it's like 2 million HP, so it's really not that much. And then on the second half, this is where it gets tricky. We get 2 of those Wilderness Hunter, and we get 2 waves of 2. So they both have 2 million HP. And with this white bar, gray bar, they get a second HP bar, basically. So it's basically 4 million HP, if not a bit more, depending how fast you are. And if you're not able to group them and damage them together, it's going to take you a lot of time if you're not using Lunar characters. Okay, so the mechanic for those Wild Hunt enemies, basically when you have Moonsign, Ascendant Gleam, so when you have 2 Nokrai character in the team, basically when you deal damage to these monsters, they will also drop that gray bar at the same time up to a certain percentage of the damage that you deal. It's not 100%, but it basically makes it much faster to kill them compared to non-Lunar character, because if you don't have Moonsign, Ascendant Gleam, basically what happens is that you have to kill the red bar first, so the first HP bar, and then once you kill the first HP bar, they will be stunned, and they will gain a second HP bar that will be filled when you deal damage with that gray bar, and then after 10 seconds they will get out of the stun, and then they will get a new HP bar minus the white gray bar that you already filled. So it's going to give them a lot more effective HP overall compared to if you use Lunar characters, and it's technically way more than 2 million. Like, it's more about like 3-4 million per monster than 2 million. So if you don't have any 5-star Lunar character, you can still use Aino, Ilua, Yahoda to get that Moonsign, Ascend, and Gleam, but basically any Lunar character with Aino will be able to do that. You can do Bina if you have Bina with any other character, and then it's going to be pretty much very easy. And you can basically clear the other chambers like 12-3 and 12-1 with other teams, and then come back to 12-2 with a Lunar character for the second half. But technically, if you have a Lunar character for the second half, it should be free for the other chambers as well. Also, I wouldn't bring Overload against these enemies because, as I said, you kind of want to keep them grouped, and Overload will push them away, and it's going to be a nightmare, and you won't be able to deal damage to both of them at the same time, and therefore like increasing their HP by so much. Also, no Lunar, so it's going to be much harder. And in terms of gameplay, also try to stay on the side of one of them so they can stay kind of aligned, and you will be able to deal damage to both of them at the same time, whether it's with Skirk, Mawika, or Lunar characters. So now in Chamber 3, it is so much easier than in Stygian Onslaught. The first boss has basically half of the HP of the Stygian, so you need so much less DPS, half of Fearless, of course. So it's really not too complicated. You can clear with basically any team that has decent DPS. And yeah, the shield this time around, you don't really need Lunar teams to break that shield. I broke it with C0, R0 Skirk, with Yelan, Farina, Escoffier, and everyone was on the R0 weapon on Favonius. So it's really not too bad. If you have Mawika, if you have Varesa, if you have any Lunar character, it's going to be super fast. Now, if you're struggling a little bit with the shield, once again, grouping the minions with Kazuha or Sucrose is going to be much easier, and it's going to make it faster because they're really squishy this time around. They don't have a lot of HP. It's easier to kill them than in Stygian Onslaught. And after that, it's really the exact same gameplay as the one in Stygian, basically. It doesn't have too much HP, and you just want to dodge the attack, deal as much damage as possible. And you should be able to clear this in 1 minute max. After 1 minute, I think usually 1 minute after you break the shield, the boss will regenerate the shield, so you want to kill that before it regenerates the shield. There's also a strategy that was in the Stygian where you push the minion with your body, so with your character, you push them closer to the boss. If you're struggling with the DPS on the shield, you can try that strategy a little bit as well. But honestly, it shouldn't be necessary. And this time around, the shield doesn't stay as long as in Stygian, so you kind of want to be a bit faster than in Stygian Onslaught. And also keep in mind that the shield takes 3 times Lunar damage, similar to Stygian. So yeah, if you have a Lunar character, Zebai, Nefer, Flint, it's going to be super fast. Even with just Inefa and Combina, it's going to be super fast. This time, the boss will not give you energy back when you deal Lunar reaction the first time on the shield. So you just got to keep that in mind and make sure you have your burst ready for this fight. And then finally, second half, the Legatus Golem. That Geo Shield basically increases the resistance of the boss. He will take less damage during that phase, but it still has not that high resistance, so you can still kind of brute force with basically any very good DPS. If you want to break the shield, you can do Overload, you can do Claymore characters, you can do Geo damage, and yeah, basically any team on this side will work realistically. Even Hyperbloom can work. The boss has around 3.3 million HP, I think. And yeah, you should have a decent amount of time. In 1 minute, 1 minute 30, you should be able to clear that boss with basically any decent teams. If you're a little bit slow and he starts spawning those constructs, make sure you destroy those constructs as fast as possible with normal attacks and abilities. Every hit will proc on this, so you want to do as many hits as fast as possible to break that thing and avoid very big damage. Now, in terms of the best teams for this Spire Abyss, there's a lot of teams that works realistically this time around. In terms of Lunar teams, I will start with the Lunar teams. The best teams are going to be Flynn's Inefa first and then Zebai second. So you can do Flynn's Inefa with Aino and Sucrose. I know Sucrose here, and then you can do Bina, Goro Zhongli, or Goro Ilua if you have, or Zhongli Ilua. Any Zebai team realistically is going to deal enough damage even without Bina. And then same for the first half, any Flint's team, even without Bina, will deal enough damage. And it's going to be basically the easiest run with these teams. After that, on the first half, literally any Lunar team will work. So Zibai team will work. Nefer team will work as well on every side. You can use Nefer first half and second half just fine, especially if you have Bina, but even without Bina, there's going to be enough damage. First half still, Neuvillette team is going to be crazy good. A little bit, could be a bit hard on the Lord of the Hidden Depth, but you just bring Kazuha or Sucrose, and then you can bring together the minions, and he's going to blast them super easily. And that's basically it. So you can do Shilo or you can do Silali or whatever, but yeah, Neuvi team first half really good. Skirk team first half as well is going to clear super well with Farina. Of course, you kind of want Escoffier. If you don't have Escoffier, it might be a bit tricky, especially for the shield on this boss. But yeah, I managed to clear with C0, everyone, and Favonius on the supports plus craftable on Skirk on my F2P account. And it was just fine, honestly. It was not too complicated. So if you have some signatures or better builds, it's going to be pretty straightforward with Skirk. She's great on every stages, and basically on the last boss you want to focus on the shield. You can do normal bloom teams as well with Lama if you have Lama, Nilu, Nahida, and then preferably if you can bring Aino, it's nice for it's gonna be easier for the shield, or if you have Bina, it's gonna be easier for the shield of the last boss. But even without this, it's still fine. You can just do any other Hydro like Kokomi or whatever. Electrocharge teams in general are going to perform somewhat pretty well, especially on the first and second stage. It might be a bit tricky on the last stage if you don't have Bina in Ifa, but it can still be fine. So you can do Electrocharge Nervi, Electrocharge like Farina, Yelan, or stuff like that. It's not going to be the best, but it should still clear. And then finally, Mawika, of course, can still clear the first half pretty comfortably, whether you do Melt with Silali, Shilo, or whether you do with Farina for some Hydro for the shield can be nice. It should still be fine. Even if you're a little bit slow here, if you have a Lunar team on the second half, then it's going to be easy. I wouldn't recommend necessarily, but if you have some Hydro and stuff, it's pretty good as well. And then after that, you can potentially use other teams, but those are really the best ones that are going to perform the best. And on the second half, Tibaya, of course, Nefer is going to be great. Flints can clear as well the second half super easily. You can do any Geo team with Bina. I cleared with Ito, with Noel, with Bina Aino, or Bina Ilua. It's going to work super great with either Ito, Noel, or any Geo DPS. Navia, of course. With Navia, it's going to be great. You can even do Chiori, potentially. Any Lunar Crystallized team with Bina Ilua second half is going to work super well. Skirk second half, once again, easy clear. Might be a bit tricky on the Wilderness Hunter, but once you freeze them and group them properly, it's really straightforward. DPS, just do your rotation, easy clap. I was able to do with C0, R0 as well here on this side, so really, really doable. If Mawika is going to be awesome as well, either Mawika Monopyro, you can do Mawika Melt. Mawika Melt is going to be a bit easier to deal with the Wilderness Hunter, but if you have 2 minutes, Mawika Monopyro should still be able to clear. I managed to do it with R0 Mawika as well. I was using Red Horn because I didn't have any other option, but even with Tidal Shadow R5, it should be solid and should be clearable. But yeah, Melt or Monopyro is going to be fine. Alikino as well, Melt or Monopyro should be able to clear on the second half somewhat pretty well. And then honestly, that's basically it for the very solid teams. After that, you can try some other teams similar to the ones that I recommended, but those are really the ones that I would recommend the most. Otherwise, you will struggle a little bit, most likely. And of course, as I said earlier, if you're struggling with the Wild Hunt and you don't have any 5-star Lunar, you can bring Yahoda with Aino and then complete with basically any other 5-star DPS to do this. Honestly, you could almost do Mawika Shilo to get some damage. Basically, you can infuse Hydro to get some Vapes on the Wilderness Hunter and then have your Mawika deal damage. You will get the Lunar, you will get the Ascendant Gleam, and you will still be able to deal damage on the Wild Hunt enemies pretty easily. And yeah, honestly, that's basically it for this Pyro Abyss. Hope it wasn't too long. I'll try to make it short. Hope it was helpful. Let me know if you have any more questions in the comments. You can join my Discord as well. I'm live almost every day as well. Except like this upcoming weekend, I don't think I'll be live because I'm busy for like a friend's birthday. But yeah, I'm basically live almost every day for Stygian help, and maybe I'll try to do some Abyss help this rotation if I find the time or the motivation, because I felt less motivation doing Spiral these days, since Stygian is just more challenging and a bit more fun, I guess. Spiral Abyss feels a bit too easy these days, but even on viewers' account, like it doesn't feel too hard. But maybe I'll do like a few days of Spiral Abyss help. So if you're interested in that, feel free to join the Discord and check out the Twitch. I might start YouTube streaming on top of Twitch. I'm not sure yet. We'll see. Let me know in the comments as well if you're interested in YouTube multi-stream. And yeah, next video is probably going to be Varka early access on during this week. I don't know if I can say the date actually. I probably said it on stream already, but yeah, next video is probably going to be Varka early access, so stay tuned for that, and I will see you on the next one. Have a beautiful day. Bye bye.